we have an amazing presentation for you, Level 7 Games. And then I also check out their booth. It's pretty dang cool. We have so many cool people over here in the lab. Come check us out. Oh, there it is. Look at that. You're on it.
Yeah.
It's a shark.
That's it. That's the one. That's a real picture. Actually, that happened.
Taking a location.
All right. Now that that's live, let's get going, guys. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. This is like the first thing happening today, so I really appreciate y'all sitting down to listen to me speak for a little bit. Here's other John. He's going to help me with the presentation. My name is John. This is my first FanExpo, so I'm really excited about this. It's also my first time presenting, which is awesome. So thank you, Pulp Culture Classroom, everybody that works there. These guys have been awesome. We've been trying to get this together for 2 years, so this is a lot of fun. All right, so today I am going to talk to you about how I opened a video game store. I'm lucky enough to be here to do the career of my dreams, which didn't end up being a professional shark fighter like I had originally dreamed. It changed a little bit since then, but now we're here, and I get to work with my friends around the things that I love every single day, which is honestly the best thing that I could possibly ask for. Some of you know, some of you don't. My stores are called Level 7 Games, and we're located in Denver, Colorado. We've been there for 13 years, and we opened our first location right on Alameda and Zuni in Denver, right in the Bellevue neighborhood. We started just 3 of us. There was 3 buddies that just put our collections together, and we decided that we were going to go on our own and try to start our own store and do the thing that we wanted to do, what we loved the most at that time, and stumbled into it. And now we've got 3 locations, a ton of wonderful customers. We've got 22 employees. Last year we were able to convert an old bank into our newest location, which has its own cafe, and it's got its own event space upstairs, which is pretty cool. And it was a long journey, but I think I can remember most of it. So it's going to be about 20-25 minutes that I'm gonna start yapping, and hopefully I can give you some info into how we did what we did and why, and how I got to open a game store in the community that I love. It's my favorite thing in the world. So if anybody has any questions during, just please feel free to raise your hand and I'll call out on you. I might say something that you're like, oh, I gotta know about that. So just let me know and I'll stop. Otherwise, it is kind of, it's a longer presentation, so I will put some time in there as well to try to give you a chance to ask some questions. So at first I want to start with a little experiment, okay? So the first experiment is, who here has read a comic book? Okay, 1, 2, 3, okay. Most everybody here, but not everybody, okay? So, all right, so everybody around, come on. Let's talk. All right, so what, Spider-Man? What about you, little dude? What you got? You're both rocking Spider-Man. Is that your favorite? Yeah, classic, dude, classic. Next question. Who here has collected cards of some variety? It could be trading cards, you can have Pokemon cards, any kind of cards. Okay, so a lot of people collected some cards. Not everybody, not everybody. And let me ask this last question here. Who has played a video game? Who here? Anybody, come on. Anybody around, have you played a video game? Every single person who's listening to me right now? Yes? That's the point I was trying to make. It's really interesting that a place like this can have so many hobbies and so many passions, yet there's one that rises above the rest, in my opinion. Everybody plays video games on your phone, on your tablet, Pokemon Go is everywhere. It's great. Last year, the gaming market was $198 billion. There are more, so on Earth, there are 440 million copies of Pokemon games. That's 40 million more than there are the amount of cats on Earth. So the additional 40 million, if we gave every cat on Earth a Pokemon game, we could also justify giving every donkey on Earth a Pokemon game. Now, excuse me, I've been watching a lot of Shrek. I don't know why we'd be giving these cats and donkeys Pokemon games, but you get the point that I'm trying to make, right? There's a lot of Pokemon games, 440 millions. So here's the last little statistic thing I want to throw out there. 1 in 3 people on Earth play video games. That's over 3 billion people that are playing games almost all the time. So it's just interesting that, you know, I found out pretty early on that this was the case, right? Like, I grew up in the 90s for the most part, and very early on I learned that most people that I spoke to had experience with video games. I didn't have trouble trying to converse with people when I brought them up. I could pretty much approach anybody, especially in my age group at the time, and immediately start up a conversation that we were both having fun and engaging in. And to me, that's big because I'm socially awkward for the most part. This kind of stuff is hard for me, so being able to face to face with somebody, have something to talk about right off the bat is the greatest. So I made a career out of it. And I'll say this about that. People love talking about their favorite gaming memories. There's something about it, the interactivity, you're in it, you're immersed. People love to talk about it, and that includes me. So, I'm gonna talk about myself for a little bit since we're getting to how I open a game store. Okay, here's the scene, you ready? The year was 1989. The season, Christmas, and I was 4. Little did I know that my grandparents had made a giant mistake. They bought me my first video game console. That's right, the Nintendo Entertainment System. The shiny black box, the Zapper, Mario, Duck Hunt, just the entire thing was just perfect. And I mean, like, even at 4, I was already like being booted off of my aunts and my uncle's TVs and their video game consoles. You know, my uncle had the Commodore, my aunt already had a Nintendo that I had basically stolen to some degree. And I finally had my own. And that is literally my very first childhood memory. Getting my Nintendo for Christmas. It's insane that that's stuck with me this whole time because I try to think before it. I'm like, nope, nothing there. So, since that moment, moving forward, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted for Christmas. That's what I wanted for my birthday. That's what I wanted for Kwanzaa. I don't care. I wanted video games for anything that somebody would get me a video game for. If it was a console, it was a game, a controller, those were the gifts I wanted, you know? And as a kid, I feel like that was super important to say, you know, that's your one time. I think that's the important part when you're a kid is you get to make a request 3 times a year. Here's the thing I'm into, right? This is important to me, and sometimes parents don't listen, but you know, I was lucky enough that my parents did, and so I always got to experience what I was after. Let me ask you guys a question real quick. I'm gonna ask you, buddy. One more. I got one more question for you. Ready? Okay. You get a Pokemon pack for this one. What's your favorite video game? I thought I was gonna be standing. I didn't know I'd be sitting, so I was gonna walk it up to you, but.
Mine?
Yeah, dude. What's your favorite video game? Stand up, buddy. Let's hear it. I can hear you. I can hear you. Your favorite video game is Pokemon? That's awesome, dude. That's one of my favorites too. Who's your favorite Pokemon? You have a couple? Pikachu and Rayquaza? That's 2 packs, buddy. Here. Come on.
Those are solid picks.
Come on, dude. Those are solid picks. Thank you. All right. There you go, buddy. All right. Okay. So, moving on. I got my Sega Genesis the next year when I was 5. I got the Sonic pack in, and of course, Sonic the Hedgehog is the coolest video game character of all time, without question. Everybody agrees? Okay, moving on. Yeah. There's absolutely zero argument with that.
I think no one has ever debated that before, ever.
That's right. No, it's he's the most important.
Right. Like here, he's fast.
He quips. He's a smart aleck. Yeah.
I can stay back there and keep my eye on it.
And then 6 years later, they did the 64. I got the 64, I was doing 3D gaming. It was awesome. We got Mario 64, and that's what introduced a lot of us into 3D gaming. I don't know who was all there for it, but I know for me, it was a big deal going to Walmart and going up to the kiosk that they had at the time, and you're like, holy cow, I can run around in every single direction, not just left or right. So it changed everything. And I do have to say that also the 64 has the worst controller in gaming. I will stand by that. We can talk later if you want.
No one's ever said otherwise also on that one. So
Okay, true.
Sonic's the best character, we all know that, and the N64 controller is terrible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Just facts. Just we know. We got you.
Okay, good. As long as everybody understands. Exactly, Mario Party, yeah. Hey, all right, so a little bit more. The last console that I got as a gift was from my grandparents again. It was another Christmas, and it was the PlayStation 1. I had gone over to my buddy Paul's house, and he showed me Resident Evil, and he showed me Final Fantasy VII, and that was that. I was like, I need a PlayStation. I need a PlayStation immediately. Mom, I don't care about the 64, I don't care about Mario, I need a PlayStation. So, Grandma and Grandpa came through again. I love them very much. And so, from that point forward, I was in charge of my own gaming destiny, as it were. I got to pick the games, the consoles, like the stuff that I wanted. Occasionally I'd get stuff as a gift, but for the most part, it was, I had a job at that point. I got my first job, and I had to decide what I was going to spend my money on. Occasionally, I would go to the local video game stores, right? I'd trade my stuff, I'd buy new stuff, I would sell things, some of them did cards, some of them did comics. And so that was, as a kid, one of the easiest ways for me to continue to upgrade my gear without having to constantly beg my grandparents, who were sick of buying me every console for Christmas. So they had other grandkids. I was the oldest, so that eventually wore out its welcome, and they had to care about the other ones at some point. So that didn't work anymore. At the time, when I first was responsible for my own gaming stuff, there was a lot of stores when I was a kid. I was super lucky. We had Game Force, we had Buyback, we had obviously like Toys R Us, the big ones, Target and stuff. We had KB Toys, we had EB Games. There was other local stores that had come and gone, but those were like the main ones. And my main one was Game Force, which is still the only one of those shops that I just named that is actually still open. And they're in Aurora, and if you go there, you have to be sure to say hi to Jim for me. He's the guy in the North Carolina jersey. He's been selling me video games for 25 years. He was actually in the Game Force that was next door to the Casa Bonita when I was a kid, that I used to go buy games from. And it's just amazing that he's still doing it. It's one of those testaments of time for me. Game stores were like a very special thing that I didn't realize I cared about so much until much later in life. I didn't realize what an impact that they had on me. So now that I reflect, each one of those stores did something special. And if it was one of the corner stores that kind of had the record store vibe, or if it was a mega store like Toys R Us and it just had everything, like each one was special in its own little way. And I loved being in places that sold video games. There was just anything about they usually had cool t-shirts, they usually had toys, awesome posters, great music. The staff was happy to be there, which is a big deal. It's one of the few places as a kid where you feel like you're supposed to be there. Like so many other places, when you're a kid, you walk in and you're like, I don't know what this isn't really me. A toy store is the ultimate, is the penultimate. So they all left an impression, and I use all of those experiences and all that time whenever I think about what I'm doing at my shops. It's really important. I'm gonna give a little pause. Does anybody have any questions so far, as far as like what I'm talking about? Just make sure. All right, let's keep trucking. All right, so I got to middle school and I got my first job. I was working hard, super hard. I had my own money. It was great. I was working at an after-school program called the Dell Techno program, which was a youth-driven program by Dell. And essentially what it was is they taught kids me how to teach other kids how to assemble computers from various parts, and then also how to install and operate on software. And I mean, that job was just amazing. Like, first of all, it laid like a good fundamental for like what a job was, how to work. I was 13 at the time, and I got to hang out again with my friends and work with cool electronics, building computers, installing games, having a good time, doing a job that I actually enjoyed. And it taught me a lot of fundamentals about working with electronics and stuff like that. Technical skills, such such as being able to make sure you're grounded before you reach inside a computer. But this is when the hard decisions started. The real life choices, the important ones, like, am I gonna buy a new Pokemon game? Or am I gonna buy a ton of Pokemon cards? It's like, the choices are endless, and I want them all. And I usually went with the cards because I wasn't good at budgeting and they were cheaper, so it is what it is. In fact, I vividly remember the first time I opened my first holofoil card. Me and my buddies walking home from school, we went to 7-Eleven, last pack in the box, I got it. It was a holofoil Venusaur. Boom, I did it. I won. Everybody else, non-holo. I was the only holo guy that day. And so when I did eventually get my Pokemon Red, I had to go Bulbasaur. I had to. It's just, that was destiny. Destiny decided that. I would say now, my favorite Pokemon is Drampa, just because he's like a silly dog dragon, and I think that's hilarious. But Venusaur, special place in my heart for sure. All right. Yeah. Does everybody here have a favorite Pokemon? Come on, raise your hand. Who's your favorite Pokemon? Pikachu? Here you go. I got a pack for you if you want to come get it. There you go. Yeah. Let's see what we get out of that. All right. So we got 2 Pikachus and a Rayquaza too. It's a tie. You got to pick one now. All right. So moving on. I got to high school, and I was working for my grandpa doing renovations and home remodeling stuff. And that was fun, but it was also not fun because it was really hard work. It was summertime, I was out there building stuff in the sun, but I learned a ton. He owned his own business, and that was like a foundational part for me to understand that that's something that you can do. You can own your own business, and you can take whatever skills they are, and no matter how specific and narrow of a skill you may have, somebody probably needs that, and you can start your own business, and that's important for me to get out early. 2 main things stick out to me from that summer. Hard work is number one. Like, if you want to get anything done, just work hard at it. And the other part is to work smart. If you have an opportunity to see a problem and think around it, before trying to think through it and act, before you actually think about what the best solution is, do that. Think about the problem. Think about what the actual best solution would be before you just dive into having to refix stuff. Because, I mean, I'll tell you, that summer I had to refix, redo, repaint, re-adhere more than my 30 minutes here will give me time to relate to you. And I don't want this to become a presentation on how to paint a fence correctly. That's why they made the Karate Kid. So, wax on, wax off. Just go watch the Karate Kid. I won't have to go through that anymore. Yeah. Grandpa retired from that job, so that was over for me. So I did what seemed next. It made a logical decision for me to go to work at Home Depot. So that was my first little dive into retail. So I'm at Home Depot, I'm working at the service desk, and I liked it. I liked retail. It was very much one of those jobs where it felt like I was very much in control of my own progression. They just kind of throw you in, they say, here's a ton of information. It's almost like this expo. There's a lot to do, but you have to pick something and focus on it. I did the opposite. I went to Home Depot, I worked at the service desk, and I learned everybody else's job. I took every tutorial that they had. I learned how to install Windows through their online portal. I learned how to do electrical stuff. And at the service desk, we were responsible for returns. We were responsible for the the front end. So I learned how to operate the front end of a retail business through doing that. We also had to make the keys. The keys were the worst. And they finally moved into the hardware department. But if I have to make a key again, I will cry. I mean it. Oh, it always just triggers me. But I found that learning everybody else's jobs, or as many as I could, made my life easy. I didn't have to depend on everyone else. You know, I was the service desk. People came up, hey, where can I find this? How does this work? What's your name? What's your quest? And I would have to have the answer for all of these people or find it. So the less I had to depend on other people, the better. Outside of that, I was there for about 3 years. I ended up moving on to Best Buy, where I worked in the computer department, the media department for a little bit, but not too much. And then I went to AT&T and Singular and ended up at Dish Network for a little while doing phones and tech support. That was interesting, and it was not really for me. I decided that in the meantime I was going to start attending college. So I'm in school, and I don't know what I'm in school for, and I'm just taking a bunch of random classes because that's just what seems right. And I end up taking this graphic design 101 class, right? So my teacher, this guy Chris Baca, he was awesome. He really taught me anything I wanted to know, which was interesting because I felt like every other teacher that I had up until that point taught me what they thought I should know. So this guy, you know, he entered the class, teaches you some fundamentals, and then from that point, he lets you decide on what you want to do, and he really worked through me, and that was really fundamental for me understanding Photoshop, Illustrator, digital art just in general, which has helped me when we started making t-shirts, when we started doing the posters, the stickers, all, you know, any of the signage and stuff that we do, it taught me everything I needed to know outside of. Another really important thing that I learned is you can learn from the internet. There's so much stuff you can learn on the internet. It's crazy, right? Like, I don't know. I never thought that you could learn how to open a business on the internet, but that's what I did. I Googled it. I was like, okay, here we go. So I've been learning, for example, I learned how to fix rooftop air conditioning units. A commercial one. I've learned how to silkscreen and print t-shirts just from YouTube videos. I've learned how to open my own video game store. I've learned how to teach a dog how to speak fluent Japanese. That last one's not 100% true, and for a different presentation, so disregard. Moving on. Does anybody have any questions not about the dog speaking Japanese, by the way? No? Okay. So I spent about 2 years in the food industry after I left Dish Network, and I went and I worked at Red Lobster for a little bit, and then I worked at Casa Bonita. Yeah, I was a server at Casa Bonita. That was sweet. And no, I did not get to cliff dive. It is my life's greatest regret that I never got to cliff dive there. I'll break in one day and do it. So that's the plan at least. So, you know, Casa Bonita was a really interesting job, and I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent, but that place really taught me what the environment, like what the atmosphere of a business meant to it. Like what decorations and a mariachi band and just the waterfall and cliff divers, like the more you can put into it, the more immersive it becomes, and it gives people a reason to be there besides what you're doing. So, I mean, even though the food there wasn't great, right? People still could put aside that and enjoy themselves. They would leave the place with a smile on their face and a fart in their belly. And it was good. Everybody was happy. I like that one. Yeah. And if you haven't been to Casa Bonita, it's like a huge Mexican-themed restaurant that also is like a mini theme park. That's the best I got. So we'll move on from the Casa Bonita presentation now back into this stuff. I went back into retail. I left Casa Bonita and I said, all right, I'm going back into retail, and I got a job at Game Crazy. Game Crazy was a video game store that was inside of a video rental store. So Game Crazy was inside of Hollywood Video. So it was kind of like the the double whammy of awesome for me because I like both of those jobs. They're both a lot of fun. So I was hired on specifically the Game Crazy side. And that job just clicked. It was something about it. I liked talking games. I liked the customers. Everybody was in a great mood. I was able to take all of the skills and the previous like nonsense from these huge corporate, and it was a big corporate entity, but because it was a smaller store, there was much smaller staffs. It was a lot more palatable, I think, as like a retail establishment than like a big box Walmart or Target. So I succeeded there. I had a great time. I worked super hard. I was the youngest manager in the district at the time, and I was putting in 65, 70 hours a week just to keep the shop going, but I loved it. I had a great staff, and we were all just cruising. Life was good. And then Netflix hit. Netflix and the streaming revolution killed Hollywood Video and every other video rental store. Rest in peace, Blockbuster. We'll miss you, Blockbuster. So that's when kind of the good times ended for a short period of time, a very short period of time. We're not going to go too dark here, okay? It wasn't too long. Really? Cool. So we ended up, yeah. Good.
Sorry, I didn't mean to distract you.
So we ended up leaving Game Crazy, and me and my buddies, we took our collections, we put them all together. We said, screw it, we're gonna go take out a small loan. We couldn't get a small loan because nobody would give us one. So my wife and I finally got a personal loan. We went and we looked for locations, we were calling locations. We finally had the money. We said, all right, we're gonna open this store because Game Crazy was gone. So we moved right in, we got the money, we were looking for spots, and we finally picked the one location that we could afford, and we went with it. And that location's still there on Alameda and Zuni, which is a couple blocks down the street from the middle school where I taught the computer classes. It's a block away from the 7-Eleven that I opened that Venusaur. It was 4 blocks away from my house where I grew up, and I love that place. It changed everything. There was 2 of us working at the time. We ended up about a year later opening our second location to get the other owner on board and to bring on some more staff. We just kept at it. I was there 70 hours a week, 80 hours a week, however long it took, because that's just what it took. And it started with just our collections, like I said, this small loan just to get the spot, and then our collections to keep it going. We started buying as much as possible until our inventory grew. We opened the second location, like I said. Eventually, we moved that one across the street from my high school, which was Lincoln High School on Federal and Evans. When we opened our third store, the other 2 owners that I was originally working with had actually decided to leave at that point. They went to go pursue other careers, and so when we opened the third location, we decided to introduce more products. We started doing tabletop. We started doing, card stuff, the board games, a lot more D&D type stuff, and now that's like a huge portion of our business. All 3 of our stores are now converted into both video game and card shops, and that, it's just introducing new products, introducing new ideas that just kept everything coming. The part that I find that's crazy about this, and I am running out of time because I spoke a little slowly, I'm sorry. The craziest part about opening the store was it was never a dream that I had when I was growing up, right? It was never something that I was like, these guys' age, saying, oh, when I grow up, I want to open a video game store. I liked going to video game stores. I liked being in them. I knew that, and I liked working at one eventually, and that was great. When that was taken away from me, that's when it became clear that the only way that I could do what I wanted to do, because I'll tell you what, GameStop would not hire me. I tried. They didn't like me. But it became clear at some point that I had to do it. I had to open my own store. Me and my buddies had to do it, and so that's what we did. And I think that's the most important thing to take away is like, I Googled how to open a video game store. You know what I mean? I had worked at a few, so I had experience. But the reality is like, everybody talks about opportunity like it's a door that closes at some point, just that's it, right? It's gone. There's your opportunity, is a door. And they always use the door or window, and I think it's a bad analogy because I don't know about you guys, but most doors that I run into open more than once. I don't know, it's kind of a weird thing. But the other thing, you could also build more doors. And some say you cannot simply build more doors, but you can't. You can decide what you want to do, and you can try to do it, and it may not work. For a long time, the first couple years of level 7, we were just struggling. And from that, I continue to work as if I'm struggling, because it's important to continue to push yourself, to continue to grow, because at some point it just peters out if you don't. And that's the other part that I learned halfway through was like, we started losing momentum, and that's when the other owners decided to leave, and they didn't want to do it anymore. And once they were gone and I realized, okay, I'm the motivating person behind this, I'm the driving force behind Level 7 Games, that's when we really started taking more risks, doing more stuff, putting ourselves out there, and it's just been great. I am almost out of time, sadly. I have a bunch of Pokemon cards here, so I'm just gonna pass these out afterwards. But I will say this, please remember, and I have to tell myself this all the time, no one and nothing is perfect. You're not gonna perfect the idea or the logo or the name or the sign or the design or whatever it is you're trying to do. It's not gonna be perfect. You can always look at something and just want to change something. You just have to get it out there. You just have to decide, set a timeline for yourself, and just fire, just go for it. You know what I mean? Because that's really what caused it, was the fact that I didn't get to do what I wanted to do anymore, and I was like, I'm going to do this no matter what I have to do, and it worked. And that's all it was just doing it, just Googling how to open a video game store. That started the whole thing, and I mean, it's crazy to think that it really boils down to that, but it's just hard work. That's all it is. So, hey, we got some videos. You got videos in there? Oh, it's fancy. Hell yeah. Guys, I am officially out of time. I appreciate you. I got more I can keep saying, but thank you so much, everybody. John, putting together a cool slideshow. I had to cut some of it out. He had to skip ahead a little bit. I spoke a little slower than I anticipated.
Yeah, just a little. Sorry, I didn't talk a whole lot, but I didn't open the store. I'm just in there now.
He's just here. He's my support.
Yeah.
He's my support. So.
Everyone needs a support John. All Johns need a support John.
Support John.
Support John.
All Johns need a support John.
Thank you so much. Can we please do a round of applause for Level 7 Games? Thank you so much. That was
Thanks,
wonderful.
guys.
Thank you. And
Come
just in case, if you've not gotten your passport yet, I have some passports. I can give you a stamp. I believe one of the things says, come see.
Grab a pack. Come on, everybody can grab a pack.
Oh yeah, come. Oh yeah.
Come on, grab a pack. Grab a pack. Everybody, send all the kiddos up. Come grab a pack of Pokemon cards. Come on, guys. There you go. Grab one.
So you can even also get a stamp
yeah,
from me.
You get one too.
Well.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna grab my little dauber. Boop, boop. That's the sound they make. Boop, boop.
Come on, come grab a Pokemon pack. Come on, you guys sat through it. You deserve one. Yeah, if you
I
sat
lost
through
my
it.
dauber.
Yeah, you had to hear my voice for a half hour. You deserve a Pokemon pack. Thanks.
Sorry, found my dauber. Got too close, y'all.